Hello, and welcome to Tonalist Landscape Painting with M. Francis McCarthy. Welcome as well to the Past Master series. This is number 2 in our series, and it is a study after a painting by George Inness, our favorite painter around here, and it's called the Trout Brook. And very interesting later painting by George. And I'll be honest with you, I really didn't have the skill or ability to go after this painting, say back when I did the 100 Days of Tonalism. It just kind of just seemed too hard. But I'm real happy with the study I did that we're showing you today, and hopefully you'll get some good insight into not only my approach to making a study after George, but maybe some insight into George too. Now I have no way of really knowing how he did his painting, and we'll never know because that was the 1800s. There was no video and very limited recording technology. I think that just came in at the end of the century. But he did write a lot, but he was kind of a sort of a fevered, inspired type, and a lot of his writings, he didn't really write much about the things we would have cared about, like technique and things like that. He wrote about a lot of metaphysical ideas and philosophy, and which is good stuff, you know, but ultimately as painters I think we're always interested to see how you know, other artists put things together. And well, I've been sharing with you for quite a while, so you've got a pretty good idea about how I put things together, and it's always changing and modifying. And now one of the things about this Past Master series, as you can see, we're working on the burnt umber now instead of the burnt sienna, and I again have no way of knowing what sort of color that George Inness started on, but I found working on the burnt umber to be just better for me, mostly because it's much easier for me to judge values against the darker color. That's one. I was just thinking about that today. And for two, I think it just has a bit more of an antique-y feel, that burn umber. When the little bit's peeking through, you can see where I laid in that kind of blue color there. The darker tone in the blue is actually just the thinner blue over the burnt umber. So it's a very interesting way to work. And when I'd started this series about 6 months ago, 7 months ago, the working on the burnt umber was very new to me, and so I was still wrangling with it and getting a feel for it, and I'm pretty comfortable with it now. And since that time I've added in a bit more of an extreme texture element to my work. This board that we're working on right now here is lightly textured, and I do use that texture. When I dry brush over it, it gives me a bit of a stipple effect. But I was in the studio today working with one that's more heavily textured, like say the sort of thing like John Francis Murphy might have worked on, and it was awesome. It's just great. You know, the problem with the dry brushing on the finer texture is that it gives you this softening effect, which is not as big a problem on the heavier texture, because it's sort of, first of all, it has a really strong effect, so you tend not to do as much dry brushing for one, and when you do it, it works organically with the painting and the texture that the painting's resting on, and it's awesome. I'm really into it right now. I can't say I'll be working on this heavily textured boards forever. I could get tired of it. I haven't actually engaged with the texture at a size any larger than 7 by 10. I've been in this kind of miniature mode, which I think I'm still in, but I'm looking forward in the new year. Hopefully I'm going to be getting into a new studio, and with more space, more room, and more ability to do larger work. And you know, we'll see how that goes. It's awesome though to be on this adventure as a landscape painter, and to be able to, I don't know, expand what I do and improve. And create beautiful images. It's all really a dream come true for me. Yeah. Now let's see. Good old George Inness. I've talked about George so many times. I've sort of kind of abandoned that. So if you're new to this series or new to George Inness, there is a playlist on my channel of all of the George Inness studies I've done. It's probably about 30 or 40 paintings there. In there, I certainly do talk quite a lot about George, and there's many books written about him that you can get on Amazon, and I'm sure other fine booksellers. One of the best ones is it's just called George Inness by Nikolai Chinaski Jr., and that one is out of print, but there was many copies of it around, so you can pick it up used at a good price. Another one is called George Inness and the Visionary Landscape. The artist's name there is Bell, and I think that's a lady. I don't see her first name, so I can't really help you with that. But that's a really awesome book too. Very heady, because she kind of breaks down what he was after with his. He had a certain way of going after composition, that he had his own mathematical system devised for the way he would divide up the board, and I can't say it made sense to anyone else but him, but he sure did get good results. And as a matter of fact, I was reading some essays recently by Asher B. Durand had wrote some letters in the 1800s about landscape painting, and was making some brilliant points there. Of course, I'm paraphrasing dramatically right now since I don't have the book in front of me, but one of the points he was making is he'd initially started writing this series of letters to this artist that had applied to him to become a student, and Asher B. Durand said, well, I don't want to discourage you from painting, but you know, having me teach you would be one of the worst things that could happen to you, and this is why. And he went on to delineate some of the problems with trying to learn painting off a teacher. And the points he made was that you should have your own relationship with nature. You should be getting out into nature with a pencil and the plein air and working it out on your own. A teacher can really speed things up for you. A teacher can show you how to make good pictures, but you have to be careful that you don't end up making good pictures that are in the style of your teacher, and you lose your own identity and you lose your own voice, and that's a real risk that can be run. And as far as my standpoint, I do a little teaching out of my studio. Mostly I teach drawing, because the people that come to me are not very advanced, and you've got to have the drawing there really before you jump into the painting. If you want my opinion, drawing is very important. And that's not to say you can't paint too, but you need to be careful when you're working with a teacher, or working or doing like I'm doing here. I'm doing a study after George Inness. Now, if you followed the channel for any length of time, you've seen plenty of my paintings, and you've seen plenty of my studies after George Inness. My paintings don't look very much like George Inness at all. I get a lot from doing studies after George Inness. I absolutely love George Inness, and I love the way he painted, and I'm always trying to get some of that good stuff into my work. But I don't, like I say, I don't ape George Inness. I don't, my work doesn't look like his, and I don't have the same kind of mind or personality that George did, so it's probably not a problem there. But this is one of the reasons for that is because I went out, and I had a foundation in drawing already, but I went out and did paintings direct from nature, and took my own photographs and did paintings from them. And I made plenty of bad paintings, but they were my own bad paintings, and I was figuring things out my own way. And it wasn't until many years into my painting career that I even got into doing studies after other painters. And I'm so glad I did, because it came for me at the right time. It gave me the ability to kick my work into a whole nother level, a whole nother gear. It was extremely valuable for me, but it was valuable for me because it enriched what I had already come up with. It enriched I already had my own voice. I just needed to get better, you know, and doing studies after other artists really helped me with that. So I recommend doing all of it, you know, going out doing plein air paintings, doing some studies after other painters. When you do studies after other painters, don't worry about making an exact copy. That's not valuable. What's valuable is just trying to figure out, you know, how they put things together, and kind of walking in their shoes. It can be one of the greatest things you can do for yourself as a painter. But anyway, getting back to the Archer B. Duran, we're almost out here, but I might bring that book home and read a few bits from that over some of these past master things, because he was actually not a tonalist. He was more of a Hudson River guy, but a brilliant, brilliant painter, and really one of the best landscape painters ever. And he went directly to nature. He went directly to the source. And I love his work. I don't love his work as much as I love George Inness, but George Inness is, for me, it's more emotional, more juicy, and more synthetic. And maybe it's because I'm a modern. I like that synthetic approach. I like that bit of abstraction, that you know, cessation of detail and things like that. I think are very important, and this is one of the real innovations of the tonalists, also known as the American Barbizon, by the way. And you know, we're spreading the word. We're keeping it going, and hopefully you're digging it, and you're going to come back, because we got probably a few other George Innesses in this series. Maybe not as many as in the past, but you know, I really enjoyed doing this painting, and I'm really happy to share it with you. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow, and we're going to be, I don't know, I might share one of my paintings, or like I've been mentioning, I have this awesome study of a Francis Murphy I did, so I might just throw that in and get it out of the way. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Meanwhile, please take good care and stay out of trouble.